Man, if it wasn't for mushrooms, and I don't say this lightly, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, but if it wasn't for mushrooms, I mean, I may be dead or in jail. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about psychedelics and mushrooms specifically to the general public right now. And I think just before you endeavor to partake in a journey, I mean, the key is like...
It still hits, I don't miss it, it's go, 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 like a go-go flow. And I'm almost done, and I told you so. When I throw these flows like it's Rochambeau, and I ain't too close, it's Joe Smo goes. And I'm on my grind, that is all the time. I do not do breaks, that's right, I stay in dry. And look, I'm back with a little bit of that, and a little more cash than it came in with. Ready, that cat is out that bad, but I still ask you, the boy got skills. I don't need her, I don't need him, I don't need help with me, I got this. I can sing songs, I can spit raps, and I can do both, even do this, word.
This episode is brought to you by Sweat Tent, the pioneers of the portable wood-burning sauna. Did you know that using the sauna 3 to 4 times per week could reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease by up to 50% and make you 60% less likely to experience Alzheimer's disease? That's why I've been a big fan of the sauna for years. But having to go to a crowded gym to do it isn't ideal. And all the at-home options are bulky and expensive. That's why I only use the Sweat Tent for my sauna needs. It's the most storable and affordable wood-burning sauna on the market. It not only takes minutes to set up, but it can reach 200 degrees Fahrenheit in 30 minutes or less. So whether you're enjoying it yourself in your backyard, with friends, or in need of a reliable sauna on the go, Sweat Tent is your best choice for the most portable, storable, and enjoyable outdoor sauna experience. All On The Stacks listeners will receive $100 off when you use code OTS. Visit sweattent.com today to get $100 off your purchase with code OTS at checkout. Again, that's sweattent.com to get $100 off with code OTS. Sweat Tent, helping you fire up your home wellness routine. This episode is brought to you by Burn, the fitness company behind the Today Show approved Burn Board. If I'm being honest, working out can be a real chore, especially as a new dad in desperate need of sleep and cardio. Burn is founded by NEPA native Jimmy T. Martin, and his Burn Board offers a low-impact core and cardio experience unlike anything I've done before. They have hundreds of on-demand workouts that are great for beginners, seasoned athletes, and out-of-shape podcast hosts who love supporting small businesses. My wife and I use it pretty frequently throughout the week, and it's honestly a great way to burn a ton of calories without burning a ton of cash. Not to mention, it's a great tool for skiers, runners, wrestlers, and hockey players. Jimmy is offering all On The Stacks listeners 15% off when they use the code STACKS15. Visit theburn.com today to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15 at checkout. Again, that's theburn, THEBRRN.com to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15. It's time to get on board today with Burn. This episode is brought to you by Kavanaugh's Grill, one of my favorite places to eat and drink in NEPA. They've got one of the best outdoor patios with 13 TVs and over 20 beers on tap. You can also dine inside at this cozy Irish-style pub where your beer never goes empty. Did I mention how delicious their food is? Their in-house smoked brisket, barbecue ribs, and wings are to die for. So grab your friends and have a drink on me at Kavanaugh's. Mention code STACKS for one free draft beer with purchase of any entree when you dine in. Located at 163 North Main Street in Mountain Top, Kavanaugh's is open at 4 p.m. during the week and 12 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday during football season. Dine in today at Mountain Top's only Irish-style pub. What's up, podcast? It's Bill Corcoran Jr. We are here in Nashville, Tennessee at the 8th Room. This is the first OTS Road Show. Super excited to be here today. Edward Crowe, welcome to the On The Stacks podcast.
Yo, thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, man, this is dope. Thanks so much for setting this up. This place, this is incredible.
Yeah, man, this is 8th Room. Used to be Douglas Corner, legendary spot in Nashville, Tennessee. Owned by my boy Hollis.
Yeah, shout out to Hollis, by the way.
Yeah, man.
For hooking us up, letting us use the space. We threw him out of his own place today, and he was kind enough to let us use it. So this is great, man. I mean, this place is like iconic.
Yeah, if you're ever in Nashville, make sure to stop by the 8th Room. It's super dope spot.
Yeah. So this is, like I said, this is our first road show. We've never done this before, and this is exciting. You know, Eric's here with us, and we had a nice breakfast this morning. So thanks for that. That was dope.
Took you guys to Waffle House while you're down here?
Yeah. But no, man, this is great. Like I said, I mean, it's been a long time. Glad we finally connected to make this happen, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you. You got the Got the badass snakeskin boots on.
Oh man, yeah, thank you, bro.
Fly, man.
Nashville stuff.
I love it, and the hat.
Hell yeah.
You know, I feel like Eric. I gotta up my hat game a little. You know, after this, I'm like, Edward Crowe put me to shame. He put
shit, let's get it.
Yeah, man. So you're a real interesting guy, and you've done so much. Musicians, you're a photographer. I mean, there's a lot that you do, man. I don't even know where to begin. You got your own brands. It's right there on your shirt.
Yeah, man. I had to represent.
Yeah. So take me back a little bit. Where are you actually from?
I'm originally from Wilmington, Delaware, which via train is about a 20-minute commute to Philadelphia. For people who are unfamiliar. A lot of people tell me they've never met anyone from Delaware. So, guess first state. We moved down here when I was 10 years old, we moved here because my father's a songwriter. So we're here for about 6 months. He got a cut on a George Jones album, which is really legendary for, folks who don't know about country music. That was major. But that's where I'm originally from. We moved here because of music. He wrote that. And then just kind of chilled after that. And as I got older, I wanted to be in the music business, so I kind of took the torch and ran with it.
Yeah. So where did you think you would begin?
As far as
music?
I originally thought I was going to be an artist. Like I kind of, I had a recording studio on 3rd Avenue South. Me and a partner of mine named Hecto, we had a spot called the Phoenix Room on 3rd Avenue South. And we were both artists. And as I grew, I was working with a bunch of different guys, and I didn't realize it, but I was managing all these other artists, doing managerial things, But and then fast forward, once I linked up with Wolf, he was just the illest ever. So I decided I'd rather stand beside him in the business lane as opposed to try to pursue the artist route. You know?
So you and Wolf go way back. Yeah,
man. I've known Wolf since I was about 12. Yeah, I've known Wolf a long time.
How'd you guys meet?
So I got put out of Antioch High School, but before I got put out, I met Wolf in the lunchroom, and I saw him sketching, and he was sketching in a black book, and we were both graffiti artists, right? And I was like, if I saw somebody, doing their thing or whatever, I always check and see what they write. So that's our first initial contact was I seen him sketch and I walked up to him. I said, "What's up, man? What you write?" And at the time he wrote Coma, C-O-M-A. And I always wrote Ounce. And then we just linked up from there, man, and started doing graffiti together.
Nice.
That's how we initially got connected.
Yeah. So you guys just randomly met and you're both just connected through art.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And then after a while he moved to Alabama. I moved back up to Delaware for a period of time. And then it was interesting how we reconnected in Nashville. I managed a photographer at the time before I was shooting, before I ever took up photography. And he was going to shoot Wolf and asked me to join. And like I said, he went by Coma back when I knew him, right? And so I didn't know who that was at the time. But I started doing my research and was like, wait a minute. I saw the covers of the magazines, everything. We had lost communication for handful of years, and I saw him on the cover of these magazines and was like, wait a minute, man, this is my boy. And the photographer was like, yeah, whatever, dude, I said, that's like my brother, like, so we went to the venue to shoot him. He had a pass from the Tennessean newspaper, and he was actually, the photographer was being paid to be there to shoot, like it was a job. And but the venue was trying to keep us from shooting him and making it difficult. I told the photographer, I said, man, I'm not leaving until I talk to Wolf personally, and if he doesn't want us to be here, then we'll go. And made my way to the back, seen him for the first time in years, and man, it was like we hadn't missed a day,
How old were you then?
That was, what year was that? Maybe 2012. It was 2012. Yeah, it was a minute ago.
Yeah, but at that point you guys that was when you had been kind of separated for some time, right? You just linked back up.
Exactly, just linked back up. And I initially we were just homies, We just were hanging out and chilling, partying, that type of thing. And then he came to the studio. We actually did a song together back then. And me, him, and Struggle. I think that's the last time I ever recorded, because I decided after that, like straight up, I'm not really fond of the idea of someone being an artist and also trying to manage, because it's like, you know, I wouldn't feel like my priorities are balanced. You know what I mean? Like if I'm managing this artist, I'm focused on this artist, you know, not my own career in that sense. So yeah, I decided, I was like, man, I want to stand beside this dude. He's the illest to ever do it, you know? So we went from there.
Yeah, so how did it actually happen, you know? Like you were doing some photography, and what led to actually becoming his manager?
It's a long story. So after the photographer, you know, we met Wolf. Then after that, me and Wolf were hanging out, and he eventually moved to Nashville, and from Atlanta. He was living in Atlanta at the time. And we were at a car wash one day, and remember I said I had the Phoenix room, so I was in the music business, had a recording studio, was dealing with artists, and I just told Wolf one day, I said, man, look, I know you're not hiring, but I want to work with you. So with that being said, I'll start at the bottom. I'll take the trash out, walk the dogs while you're on tour, whatever needs to be done. No job is too small, you know? And I said, I'm not even worried about pay. Like, you don't even have to pay me to start. You know what I mean? Like, let's see if it works. If it doesn't, then we'll just get back to chilling and, you know, what we've been doing. He was like, all right, cool. So he put me to work. And man, after that, like I said, I started doing just whatever, man, any random jobs, going out of town with Wolf. Then it got to a point where I think we were headed to Detroit for a video shoot. And he called me and was like, yo, we got to leave tomorrow. And I was like, man, I got this job. I can't go. And it was the first time ever I couldn't go, because I had at the time I had a paint company. And I was like, I can't go. He was like, what? You can't go? You know, man, quit that job. I was like, I can't, Wolf. I got to make a living. And he was like, quit the job. You'll never have to go back. He said, work with me now. I said, okay, cool. So I quit that job, you know, sold all the stuff, sold all the ladders, sold the van, all that, and started selling merch for Wolf. So we went on the road, because before that he had a company, like a big merch company that just handled everything, you know. So then he decided to do it himself, Slamerican, and I went out and started selling the merch. Went from selling merch to next doing tour photography, and then from tour photography to tour management. And then in 2020 on the European tour, we signed a management agreement in Switzerland. So it was a process of working up to that. You know what I mean? And I'm thankful, man, to have been able to play all the different roles, because it's like the only two things on tour that I haven't done is monitors and driving the bus. I've been able to sell merch, do photography, tour manage, and one time I even DJ'd, just because it was a private birthday party on an island in the Bahamas, and the DJ who we were bringing, really dope dude, but he tried to fake his COVID results, and me and Wolf were like, I mean, he didn't get caught by anybody else, but me and Wolf were like, man, that's not a good look. Like, if we get caught, you know, it's bad for our reputation. So he was like, yo, you're gonna have to DJ. It's like, oh shit.
So you got to fill in.
Yeah.
Step up.
Yeah. So I'm thankful to have been put in a position to be able to play, I mean, almost every role. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what a journey.
Yeah, man.
What a journey. And I appreciate the from the bottom, hey, I'll walk the dogs, I'll take out the trash, whatever I need to do attitude, man. That goes a long way. And now look.
Right. No, exactly. And I think it's very important, you know what I mean, to know your place and to know how to get into the room, because a lot of times, you know, you might be the illest ever, but people don't know that yet. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get in the room, prove yourself, prove your value. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How do you do that?
I mean, in my approach was just saying, hey, I'll start at the very bottom. Nothing is too, I'll run errands, I'll do whatever I need to do. And then along the way, you start to, you know, show your character traits, you know what I mean? Like what it is you're capable of, that type of thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's super exciting. And I want, go back to like you were a painter.
Yeah.
Like what type of painting were you doing?
I mean, like I said before, we used to paint graffiti, and I was with the crew called AM7 Crew, which was huge at the time. They've morphed into other crews that are huge now, some of the biggest in the world. But the paint company was just residential, industrial, commercial. We were literally just painting houses.
And you probably didn't love that, huh?
No, I didn't love that.
What did you love?
I loved the idea of the music business, the entertainment business, and I didn't know exactly what my role was yet. That's why the whole artist thing was, I kind of knew in the back of my mind it didn't sit well, it didn't feel right. But getting into management, man, it's hard to explain to someone from the jump, like, what exactly your job role is. What are your duties? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like you can read all the books in the world, but until you jump off the porch and, get your feet wet, you got to learn kind of in the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So at that point, when you quit your job, you said, all right, I'm going to, you told Wolf, man, like, I can't do this. Like, financially, I need this job. I need to do it. What did it feel like in that moment when you're like, man, I'm making that jump?
I mean, it wouldn't have been the first time that I've taken such a leap of faith and had to believe in what you had going on and people around you to move forward. But I just believed in what Wolf was doing, man, and his talent and the movement, you know what I mean, and where it was. And I felt like I could help amplify that and be an asset to this whole thing, you know what I mean? And when he told me, Wolf is good in his words. So when he said, quit, sell everything, I said, all right, let's go.
All in.
I'm all in now, you know what I mean?
Going back to the graffiti, where did you get the inspiration for that?
I've always drawn. I went to Memphis College of Art for a minute. I did Governor's School for Visual Arts. So I've always been an artist visually. But, man, where did it start? I don't even know. It's been so long ago. But, yeah, we were serious into that, man.
Yeah.
Graffiti was our thing.
Yeah, I think I read an article. Was your mom into art too?
She was a photographer, yeah.
Yeah?
She was a really dope photographer, like almost like Andrew Wyeth. You familiar with Andrew Wyeth?
I'm not.
I think he's from up that way, up north. But he's a painter, and that was kind of her style, like abandoned houses and Appalachia and the not so pretty people. You know what I mean? The more common folks. Yeah, that was her thing.
So did you get inspiration from that?
Absolutely. We used to go specifically a spot in Nashville, Marathon Village, like before they turned it into this, it's all super nice now and stores and that type of thing. But when it was abandoned, she would take me up there, climb on the rooftops. And I was always with her doing photography. So that was dope.
Yeah.
But I didn't know personally that I was going to find myself in that lane. That kind of happened out of necessity. So back to when I had the photographer on deck, I was managing him. He eventually went on tour and stayed on tour for a long time. But in exchange for me managing him, he would photograph all my artists, do all the covers. We kind of had a thing worked out because at that point, nobody was really making any money. So we kind of had to scratch each other's back. But after he went on tour, I traded a 1972 Cadillac Coupe de Ville for a Canon 7D and just started learning how to shoot because I had to. You know what I mean? We didn't have a budget to hire photographers and stuff. So yeah,
so you kind of just figured it out on a whim.
Yeah, and then that's one of the things I did right after, the basic stuff with Wolf was just went in and started photographing, and I felt like that was my way in the room to a lot of situations, just photography.
Yeah.
And
speaking of photography, I know you got a lot going on this week, shooting music videos and teasers, and there's a lot going on. You got some other guys in town. Tell me a little bit about what you're working on.
So right now we're working with legendary triple OG photographer and director Estevan Oriol for a sizzle reel for a docu-series on Wolf. And man, we're excited, man. He's You know, LA Originals. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh yeah,
It's on Netflix. Yeah,
I've seen it. I love it, man.
So Estevan's a legend, man, and we're really thankful and honored to be able to work with him in this capacity. He's coming out. Some other guys, Baldacci, Face of LA, is coming out for the music video. DJ Paul's in town, who's family to us. You know, we grew up on his music. It was like the soundtrack track to our childhood. You know.
Yeah.
So having Paul here and just like, I mean, he's like family. It's pretty incredible.
If you weren't doing all this right now, where do you think you'd be? What do you think you'd be doing?
Like specifically this business and everything?
I mean, going back to like, you know, let's just pretend you didn't quit the painting job. Like you didn't go all in with Wolf, right? Like
right.
If you hadn't gone down the path of potentially getting into the music business like you're in now, where do you think you'd be? What do you think you'd be doing?
Man, you know, it's a tough question because I'm sure I would be in some kind of artistic lane. You know what I mean?
And you've always been entrepreneurial too. So, I mean, that's...
Right.
You know.
So, I mean, where I would be, I don't know. But I feel like I'm in the perfect place. I feel like everything works exactly how it should. And this is where I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe in that too.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was this morning. I forget what the heck we were talking about. We were at breakfast. There was a story, when I forgot what it was, but you were saying something like, yeah, just... right time, right place. You know, I believe in the universe kind of coming together and just,
right.
You know, I really believe in that.
Me too. And it's when it's amplified, it's almost like, to me, it's like the more you pay attention and the more you respect that and keep your eye out for it, it seems to like, it's almost like paying a person attention. You know what I mean? The more attention you pay them, the more they'll demonstrate results, right? So I think the same thing with that.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, I know when we spoke, we connected a couple years ago, I think at this point, but you know, we finally actually really connected. I'll say like in the last like few weeks or month or so. Mm-hmm. But I remember the first conversation when we spoke on the phone just about a month ago. You were telling me a little bit about microdosing. Mm-hmm. And I know I read a little bit about you that you've been doing it for 15 years.
Yeah, about 15 years. And I mean, it's microdosing is something. It's like, I mean, to me, it's a newer term. You know, in the last, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years, it's something where it's like you take very small amount of any substance, but in this case, specifically psilocybin mushrooms, and the idea is to take a sub-threshold dose. You know, you don't want to see colors and wavy stuff. You more or less want to have a good vibe. You know what I mean? Good energy, good attitude, and it works, man. It's I treat it like if I wake up in the morning and I feel incredible, I don't do it. You know what I mean? I only do it when I feel like I need that little bit of extra energy or boost. But I'm specifically more into high dose, ceremonial, like sacramental use of psilocybin. That's where I thrive. You know what I mean? Like the microdosing thing is really cool and it helps a lot of people. But yeah, my thing is more high dose psilocybin.
How did you get into it? Or
Man,
why?
Well, years ago, way back, you know, I used to sell a little weed here and there, that type of thing. And at one point, it's interesting to say this because everything I've learned and where I've gotten to now, I wouldn't want to get mushrooms from someone like who I was at that point because I'm big on the energy, where they come from, how they were grown, whoever grew them, how they treated them. Like in the past when I had done cultivation, I would sometimes meditate with the mycelium, you know, like put the jars of rye berries and mycelium in a circle and meditate with them, or walk into the room with these jars. It sounds absolutely ridiculous, but
there's a science behind it.
There's a science, but it's just like, you know, water. When you love the water, you hate the water. It's under a microscope, it displays different shapes, and the hate would be more like chaotic and confusing, and the love was like snowflakes, you know, and these beautiful like sacred geometrical shapes and stuff like that. But I would go in the room and try to like laugh hysterically, you know what I mean? Because this is a living organism, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, mushrooms breathe, what is it? They breathe in oxygen just like we do, you know, and exhale CO2, right? They breathe like we do and not like plants do. It's just interesting how they're more similar to us than plants are. You know what I mean? Or they're more similar to us than they are to plants.
Right.
Right. And but the way that I got interested is I had bought a couple pounds from a guy years ago, And my only intention was to sell them and make a profit. That's it. I had no knowledge of the history.
Weren't looking to use them.
I mean,
maybe a little.
Yeah, I was going to take some or whatever, but it was literally just to make a profit.
Flip them.
That's it. And took them and tried to sell them, and I realized really quickly that people don't come running back for mushrooms like they do for weed, right? Because once they get that little, trip or whatever, it's not like something they want to do over and over, right? So I ended up getting stuck with probably around a pound or so, and I just ended up eating them over a period of time. And things got weirder and weirder, the more I ate.
How so? How weird?
Well, I mean, at one point, me and a buddy split an ounce and made tea. That's a lot of mushrooms. And we were watching Apocalypse Now, and then I went to the bathroom because I felt sick. I got sick. It made me what I said now is purging, but made me puke, right? And when I was cleaning myself up, I turned around and I saw this like translucent hole in reality, and there was this Indian goddess with her hands in like a praying position, and then a bunch of hands behind her. We've all seen pictures of her. And it was like you could see through her, right? But I could very clearly see her. It was like straight up translucent. And I remember like walking towards it, just completely intrigued and wanting to go inside. And then I received a message from her like telepathically. She didn't say it out loud, but it was more like a telepathic thing. And she said, it basically let me know, if you come here, you die there. And it scared me. The minute I felt the fear, this thing closed up, right? And that was my first time I ever realized something. I was like, wait a minute, there's something more to this. And then it took a long time, several years of experimenting with these, having some bad experiences, right? I call them challenging trips now, just because I think even though it appears to be bad, I think it might be what you need, right? Like you might need those lessons.
You might need to experience that.
Mm-hmm. But over time, over several years, man, I've realized how to, like, in my opinion, approach this in a way where you're treating the mushrooms with respect, and you're entering this journey as a student, you know what I mean? And understanding the severity of what it is you're about to undertake, you know what I mean? And I have a way that I go into the journey, that whole type of thing. But yeah, man, they're serious.
Tell me about the benefits.
So the benefits, one of the biggest things for me, I used to be a pretty heavy drinker, right? And I was bad. Like I would, black out and get into fights and just all the negative things that come with drinking. And not everybody has to deal with that. Some people can do it and it's no problem. And I always would try to reason and say like, oh man, I'm going to only drink this, I'm going to only drink that, and try to, make it make sense. And it never did. You know what I mean? Never made sense. So I had an intention to figure out how to tame that, right? And it's interesting because the mushrooms made it to where I don't really like the taste of alcohol anymore. I'll drink socially. I thought that if my intention was to tame that, I figured it would be more like quitting and a struggle and trying to, day by day, trying to keep up with not drinking. And man, it's like it just flipped a switch, and I don't enjoy it like I used to. So mushrooms definitely helped me with that. Intentions like biting your fingernails. I want to stop doing that type of thing. There's a million different things. Like, I feel like you get to a point where it's like a constant therapy. It's not like I've heard people say like, you do one and it fixes you forever. I don't feel that way. You know what I mean? I feel like it's more like antibiotics where you have to continue to revisit. You know what I mean? You have to go back and continue to learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So is it like, I know just from a little bit of my research, like PTSD, maybe anxiety, depression. Mm-hmm. I've read a little bit about it. I'm not as well versed as you are, right? But it does help with some of that stuff, right? Yeah,
and I don't know as much about the scientific side of the brain, but you know, there's a lot of things. I know Johns Hopkins University is doing a lot of studies on this stuff, and people are starting to realize the real life benefits of like how it can rewire the neurotransmitters in your brain and connect different parts of your brain that don't usually communicate, disconnect parts that do communicate that may not need to, you know, and give you a way to look at yourself from an outside perspective. Because as a human being with an ego, all of us, I mean, everybody, and I don't mean an ego like an inflated ego, I mean just an ego in general. We all identify with who we are. You know, it's hard to step outside yourself and see yourself from someone else's perspective or opinion. And I feel like mushrooms really help with that. So I think under the right circumstances, you know, the set and setting is a big thing people talk about, making sure that you're not going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to get freaked out. I mean, they're therapeutic, man, but they've been being used for thousands of years. No, this isn't anything new. It's just new in our society. You know, we have to be cautious of things like, you know, they're looking into patenting psilocybin, which that's a whole rabbit hole, you know? It's like,
yeah.
Like, where does that go? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, this dates back to treating like addictions. I mean, do you know, like, have you done like research, like, you know, back in the day of this stuff and how it's like helped with addictions and things? I mean, the reason it made me think of it is because you said, you know, how you used to drink and, you know, going down a bad path and, you know, it was harmful to you, right?
Right.
You start doing psilocybin, and now, like you said, you don't even have that urge to drink anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even and that's incredible, and I'm very thankful for that. But even deeper than that, it's like serious tool for self-improvement. You know what I mean? And there's a what do you call it? Something that you always experience, or I always experience from high dose psilocybin is like, you know, family, friends, you know, love for everybody. And it's big on like, it inspires me to just want to make the world a better place, you know, and there's things that I believe are coming from outside of myself when I go to these spaces, you know what I mean? I believe that, you know, you're communicating with some form of entity outside of yourself. And I genuinely believe that. You know, I've experienced things that if it's coming from my own mind, and I'm a lot smarter than I give myself credit for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So tell me about some of those experiences.
I mean, just things you'll see, man, like I can't draw them. And again, some things are beyond linguistics. Like a lot of times when I'm in a journey, it's like you try to say out loud what it is that you're experiencing or what you're seeing. And I mean, it's crazy to say, but it'll get to where like I have to gag. I can't talk. I could tell you I got to run to the bathroom or you know, something like that. But the minute I try to tell you what I'm seeing or feeling, or, you know, something that feels like a deep insight, it's like you gag and can't say it. You know, it's almost like it's so serious that you don't have the right to say it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And the purging part is very, very important to me. That's why I like to start at like 9-gram doses, because that's the dose that makes me get sick. And, you know, you experience that in ayahuasca ceremonies. People, you know, they purge, whether it's, you know...
Have you done that?
Ayahuasca? Yeah, I've done ayahuasca a couple times. I believe that different medicines speak to different people. You know what I mean? Like psilocybin really, really seems to be right for me, you know?
Yeah, so it's like trial and error.
Yeah, I've done ayahuasca a couple times, and it was a beautiful experience, but I kind of feel at home with psilocybin, you know what I mean? Like, and even more specifically to Golden Teachers is a strain. Like, I've experienced several different strains, and they don't give me the same results. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Golden Teacher is more of like it's almost like a grandfather energy. There's other ones that are more fun, you know, which is great. It has its time and its place. Like, I think they're better for microdosing. You know, the more fun ones that are just, you laugh a lot. It's not as deep, you know what I mean? Not as much of a mystical experience.
Or spiritual.
Yeah. I mean, it could still be spiritual, but I mean, man, there's certain strains that will take you to a mystical place. You know what I mean?
How do you explain mystical?
You can't. You'll gag. You'll throw up and gag, man. You can't. It's something that you have to experience. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to cheapen it for someone who may one day take that. You know what I mean? But yeah, just life-changing and otherworldly, and something that literally, when you say this to someone, it's like, hey, you've never, ever, if you haven't done this, you've never felt anything like this before. There's going to come a feeling over you that you will not be familiar with, you know? Have you done?
I haven't.
You never done psilocybin?
No.
We have to get you out and do a ceremony at some point.
Yeah. Where do you do it?
I mean, I like to be in nature. You know what I mean?
You a woodsy guy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love to be in the woods. I used to do it inside, but when I would do it inside, I like to be in a small room, like a at our old house, we had a bathroom that was kind of long and narrow, and I just like the vibe of that, because we would put like an air mattress in the bathroom. That way you're close to the toilet, and you got to be close to the toilet.
Just in case, yeah.
Dose. Oh yeah,
it's common.
It's going down. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
So typically out in nature.
Yeah, I like to be in nature.
Why?
Well, it feels like, you know, it's a natural thing. I mean, you got to figure there's like mycelium kind of holds the soil together and helps the forest communicate, and I mean, plays a major role in our ecosystem and the breaking down of dead trees, and you know what I mean? It kind of like, it runs the forest, you know what I mean? So it's just right to be in nature. And I feel like sometimes you're like, when you're on that frequency, it's like you're allowed to be a part of this divine congregation. Like when the sun rises, man, there's things that happen that I've never experienced outside of a psilocybin journey until I was in that space. And it's like, you know, a gnat may fly by your ear, and then a bird may chirp, and the wind blows, and all these things become one song, you know, like one message. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's no longer like a separate, like I said, like a bird chirp or the wind blowing. It's all together.
It's one.
And it's like you're being allowed. It's like, hey, this guy's cool. You know what I mean? Let him in on this one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It goes on without us, obviously.
There's a connection.
Right.
Right? It's just like a deep-rooted connection.
Right. I like to say it's like nature's divine congregation. You know what I mean? Like,
I like that.
Yeah.
So when you say high dose versus microdose, so when you do high dose, this is, you know, this is something you're doing, you know, it's not something you do like, you didn't do it this morning.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Like, so like, did you take any this morning?
I did. I took a very small dose, just the tip of a spoon, like microdose.
Yep.
Exactly what that is.
Yeah.
You know, just a small sub-threshold dose to kind of put you on a good vibe. That's all.
Yeah. It's like, what does that do? Like how do you feel when you first do that? And like, you know, you do that, you know, in the morning, right?
Right.
And what's kind of like your outlook for the day?
I mean, I think first of all, the key is finding the right dose for you. You know what I mean? Like, the obvious thing, and I always say, is like, it's better to take less and not experience anything at all than to take more and find yourself in an anxiety.
Freak yourself the hell out, right?
Right. So yeah.
Yeah. Start small.
Right.
Build
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So okay. So it's like a personal growth.
Right.
I mean, this is like a deep-rooted personal growth thing.
Right.
I mean, how much personal growth do you think you've experienced since you've started this journey?
Man, if it wasn't for mushrooms, and I don't say this lightly, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, but if it wasn't for mushrooms, I mean, I may be dead or in jail. Like, and that's crazy to say, because, you know, this is something that was so, I mean, it's becoming a little more socially acceptable and decriminalized, so it's kind of okay to talk about now. But for, you know, a long time, it was looked at as just a drug. You know what I mean? Like, they'd put mushrooms beside cocaine, you know what I mean, and see no difference. And even though it has a sacramental history, you know what I mean, but Yeah, man, they've changed my life tremendously and continue to do so. Like a lot of times, you know how people say if you're in a bad mindset, don't take mushrooms. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yep.
Well, I feel like once you become experienced and familiar with the space and, you know, spirits, plant spirits and things like that, I find it more beneficial to go into that space when I'm not doing so well. You know what I mean? Like if I'm under pressure or stressed out, or, you know, we just got back from a tour and there's just been a lot going on and you haven't had time to find silence, that's when I benefit the most. And it's not always easy. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's difficult. But and again, that's once you've become familiar and become a little more experienced. I would encourage anybody who's never done it before to definitely be in the right headspace. You know, make sure you're in a good place. And nature's big for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is that different for everybody? On the Stacks will be back in a flash after a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Elevation Wellness, NEPA's premier wellness center located on Mundy Street in Wilkes-Barre. From pro athletes to busy parents, Elevation Wellness is leading the conversation when it comes to bettering your health through integrative medicine. Founded by NEPA native Louis Helmecke, Elevation Wellness offers physician-formulated and guided treatments that are administered by registered nurses. To learn more about how you can experience the benefits of IV vitamin therapy, multivitamin booster shots, non-invasive aesthetics, or peptide, NAD, red light, and compression therapy, visit elevation-wellness.com or follow them on Instagram at Elevation Wellness NEPA. All On the Stacks listeners will receive 10% off their first purchase with code STACKS at checkout. Call 570-762-9400 or visit elevation-wellness.com to book your appointment today. Elevation Wellness, taking your health to new heights. Welcome to the future. While you're hearing this ad in the present, the Center for Technology Innovation at Lackawanna College is preparing students for the jobs of tomorrow in the world of advanced technology. The Center for Technology Innovation will offer undergraduate degree programs, corporate training, as well as short-term stackable certificates in areas such as robotics, cybersecurity, electric vehicles, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence. Based at a 90,000 square foot facility in downtown Scranton, Pennsylvania, the Center for Technology Innovation is located 2 hours from the major cities of New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia, and is just 15 minutes from a commercial airport in a region thriving with tourist attractions and a vibrant restaurant, educational, and cultural scene. Lackawanna College is a proven industry-leading innovator. But don't just take my word for it. Fast Company even recognized Lackawanna College's reputation for innovation by naming them to their top 10 list as one of the world's most innovative companies. For more information or to enroll, call 877-346-3552 or visit lackawanna.edu.
I have the privilege of representing people who have been injured through no fault of their own, and they come to us and they place a lot of trust in us, and we represent them against corporations and insurance companies, and we make those companies know that our clients have a story, that they deserve compensation, and I'm proud to be able to do that for our clients at Anzalone Law.
To learn more, visit Anzalone Law offices online at anzalonelaw.com. And now we're back on the Stacks.
I mean, I think nature's pretty consistent. I've heard
It's where you got to be, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the move.
Yeah.
You know?
It's kind of just an open environment.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
it's just a way to be able to, would you say, reconnect?
Yeah, reconnect, recalibrate, consult, you know? And as far as high dose, like, I guess it's different for everybody, but Terrence McKenna, who's, if not the most famous or most well-known, like psychedelic philosopher, you know, said that the hero's dose, I believe, was around 5 grams of dried mushrooms. But again, it depends on which strain, you know what I mean, the potency, that type of thing. And I know he's done a lot more than that, or been on journeys where they're literally picking fresh mushrooms and just eating them for days. But the reason why I go directly to 9 is because it helps me cleanse. And a lot of times the cleansing isn't necessarily just physically throwing up things. Sometimes it's energy, and sometimes it's the sounds you make. You know what I mean? Like, man, sometimes you can make some crazy sounds you'd never made before. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's like getting this energy out of you. Like, I mean, I've made sounds and said things that almost sounded like other languages, you know what I mean? While getting sick. And man, you just feel like, you know, light as a feather when you come out on the other side. I like to do it a lot at night.
Is that a Yelawolf song?
What's that?
Is that a Yelawolf song?
Which one?
Light as a feather.
Light as a feather is a Yelawolf song.
It's unintentional reference, right?
That is,
yeah.
Light as a feather, first song on Mudmouth. But yeah, man.
So it's I mean, how often do you do that? Like, how often do you do the high dose?
When I'm in a space where, you know, I like to make sure that, like, leading up to the evening when I do this, I like to turn the phone off. I mean, long before you even make the tea or eat the mushrooms, I like to prepare and, like, you know, have an easygoing day, no stress, not a lot of phone calls, eat nice, you know, if it's fruits and vegetables, that type of thing. Like, try to meditate as much as possible. And then the next day, you know, you want to integrate. I've been guilty of doing a mushroom ceremony and then, like, actually having something to do the next day. I'm usually pretty good with it, but
so you got to clear your schedule, basically.
Yeah.
You got to make time for it.
Right. I think it's important integration is a big thing. You know, kind of trying to digest whatever lesson it is that you want to take away from this experience. You know, and if you just jump back into the world, sometimes it's not the best move.
Yeah, so you got to go into it with, like, an intention, like a goal?
100%. Yeah, intention is a huge part of using these sacraments. You know what I mean? It's important that you, one, enter with respect. You know what I mean? Understand that you're dealing with something way older and, you know, something very serious. It's important to go in as a student. I always enter as a student. And intention, man, like, I mean, the intention could be simple. Like, I just want to, you know what the next move in self-improvement for myself is. Or if you've got problems you're going through, you know, I want the answer to this issue, you know. Me and my fiance have been working, and this started off just sheerly accidental and evolved into this thing, but she would record me. So for high dose, my experience, there's a couple hour period after I take the mushrooms, whether I eat them or drink tea, where it's like I don't want to speak, I don't want to be spoken to, you know, I just want to be left alone and kind of get over the speed bump. You know what I mean? There's a part of the experience that is very, very difficult. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like an upload. You know what I mean? Like, I've had it before where I'm shivering and it's warm in the house, teeth chattering. You know, it's like your body's like almost going under shock.
It's like resetting.
Right. And then, yeah, that's one way to put it for sure.
Wow. Interesting.
You know,
is this like a painful experience sometimes?
It can be very frightening. You know what I mean? It can be, because once you get to that place, it's, I mean, you're going down that rabbit hole whether you like it or not. You know,
no
what I
going
mean? Like,
back. Yeah.
Once you start to feel that, there's not really any turning around. You know what I mean? But
so, you know, a few minutes back, you said that had you not discovered mushrooms, you'd be dead or in jail.
Yeah, I was just on I mean, you know, where we come from, it's I mean, a lot of the people I grew up with, I don't want to say most, but probably more than not, are dead in jail or just, you know, not doing so well. You know what I mean? But mushrooms have kind of, I feel like, guided me, you know, through a lot of these things. And there's certain times in life when I may have went back to making bad decisions and knew better strictly because of what I learned from these experiences, or knowing when to stand my ground professionally, you know, to evolve and move forward because of the lessons I learned on these psilocybin journeys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is very interesting.
Yeah, man. And it's like when I first started really taking this serious and being like, man, there's something more to this, I shared it with my mom, and she was a little nervous, kind of like, you know, you sure you're okay? Like, I don't want you to go crazy. Or,
My mom's probably she's gonna be watching this and she's gonna be like, what's he doing down there? Right? Just like your mom, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like, are you sure you're not going to go crazy out there? Make a long story short, I got her to where she started realizing the benefits so drastically that she started microdosing. She did a big dose with me one time. And then I would just go to her house, and me and my dad would take them on their property and have a fire. My mom would just come sit in the yard with us and, you know, kind of be a part of the experience. And they realized how beneficial, you know?
And she was somebody that was like, what are you doing here?
Oh, no, she was definitely, you know, she didn't do drugs or anything like that. She was like not with it if it was going to be something negative, you know what I mean?
Right, right.
She wasn't even passive. Like, she was definitely like, hey, man, be careful. Like, I'm a little worried. And she ended up actually like microdosing every day, and she's you know, she was a photographer, so she would hand color black and whites, and she would take her mushrooms and just, you know, get on a level and then color her black and white photos. So yeah, I kind of like started sharing it with my family, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You probably never thought like, hey, they'd get into this too, right?
If you told me 20 years ago that I'd have my family doing mushrooms, I mean, it didn't even sound right at that point.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
But I didn't understand it either.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't claim to understand it now. I have a better understanding than I did before, and it's working for me. You know what I mean?
Do you still consider yourself a student?
Absolutely. I'll die a student. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's key, is like, for me, is knowing that I'll always be a student.
I think it's so important with everything.
With everything.
Not just, you know, I mean, I don't know enough about mushrooms like or as much as you, right? But like, man, it's like, if you don't have that attitude, business and everything, like, you have to.
You have to.
You're always learning.
Always learning.
Always learning, always growing.
And if you're not, you're stagnant.
Yeah. Or going or going backwards.
And or going backwards, yeah.
Yeah. Because if you're not going forward, where are you going?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And, you know, I think a lot of people may struggle with, you know, that mindset of like, how do I get through this? Or how am I going to do that? How are we going to grow? How am I going to get over this hurdle? Right? Like, where does somebody begin?
As far as like in business?
Mushrooms, like
mushrooms.
For kind of all the things that you talked about, right? Like, how does somebody get started?
I mean, I think the most important thing,
besides coming to see you.
Yeah. Something that I feel like needs to be, how do you say this? I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about psychedelics and mushrooms specifically to the general public right now.
Yeah, big misconceptions too, I think.
Yeah, like, and I think just before you endeavor, you know, to partake in a journey, I would make sure that you're fully informed, understand the risks and the benefits, you know what I mean? And I mean, the key is like having a private place, being in nature, entering with respect, being a student. You know, you're playing with something that's, I like to refer to it as like an ancient, futuristic, organic technology. You know what I mean? Like, this thing has been here forever, and it'll be here long after we're gone.
It's a lot wiser than us.
You know, and it's a different, I mean, it's a different frequency, man, when you get on that. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think of it like a ancient / futuristic, organic technology.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the misconceptions? Why do you think it's so looked down on?
Well, and I think now it's getting a better. People are looking at it differently now, you know. And it can help with PTSD, depression, anxiety, all these things. but it can also help with self-improvement. You know what I mean? And that's something that you don't hear a lot about, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, all right, here's a medicine if you're sick. But if you're well, it can also, I always use the term, sharpen your superpower. You know what I mean? It just make you a better you.
What's your superpower?
I mean, that all depends on the person, obviously, but sharpen your superpower, like, just make me smarter and understand what it is I'm going for in this lifetime. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to get caught up, especially in business. You know what I mean? Like, what am I here for? A meeting for the sake of having a meeting? Or, you know, like, something else that these things have helped me do is I have shorter conversations. You know what I mean? I don't spend a lot of time talking in meetings about talking in meetings.
No, I hate having meetings for the sake of having meetings.
Right.
It's the
it's
worst.
like, if we don't have anything to talk about, let's skip it, and, you know.
Yeah, be productive.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, I think, you know, going into it with, like, finding a purpose.
Right.
Right? And, you know, for you, was it a bit about finding your purpose and your calling? And, you know, with how busy you are, I mean, you know, traveling all around the world, right? So how did you wrap your head around all this? And
well, usually when I have the time and the bandwidth, I mean, obviously, if every single day for 3 months I've got like these deadlines and, you know, things that are very, very important that they get done properly, I can't stick to the schedule I like to. But when things are a little bit more laid back, I like to do it every 2 to 3 weeks. And that way you give yourself, one, time to integrate, and two, you don't ever build a tolerance. You know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure of that as well. But integration, as people will tell you, is extremely important. Because, I mean, I've heard of stories before where people go use these too frequently, and the medicine will let you know to chill out. Like, don't come back for a minute.
It'll tell you.
Well, and when I say tell you, I don't mean speak verbally. From my experience, everything with these substances is more telepathic. Like, it's almost like you'll receive a message or an understanding.
You'll just know.
I mean? Yeah. And I've also found it interesting, like, have you heard of, you're familiar with cordyceps mushrooms?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know a lot about cordyceps, but I do know that, you know, they tend to take over insects. Have you seen that before, where like the mushroom grows out of the insect's head?
Yep.
And again, if I'm misspeaking in any way, I don't know a lot about cordyceps, but I do know that they kind of take over these insects almost like zombies, right?
Wow, yeah.
And drive them to go wherever they need to go or whatever. It's like the mushroom hijacks the insect's body.
Yeah, it takes over.
Right. So what is to say that, and this is, I'm just speculating, not saying any belief or facts or anything like that, but what's to say that it's not something similar but not a negative way? You know what I mean? Like, maybe these things help drive you in a positive direction. I think you also want to be cautious, because when you go to these realms, now I know a lot of this stuff is going to sound crazy to some people. When you tap into this, you'll understand. But you do have to be cautious. You know what I mean? It's like, think about it like in a completely different way, but the best analogy I can come up with is like a Ouija board. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to, like, I always make it a point to say, I will interact with only positive non-physical entities, right? And that's because you don't want to come back with some crazy energy that you didn't know you were going after, right?
Yeah.
So I always make it a point going in, I say I enter this journey with respect for the mushroom and love for all creatures, love for the mushroom and respect for all creatures. Then I would meditate holding the actual, whether it's the glass of tea or the mushrooms I'm about to eat, you know what I mean, and state my intention. And man, I'm so dead serious with that. Like, you know what I mean? It's
100%.
It's a part of the ritual to ensure that this is as close to a positive experience. And a positive experience may be a challenging journey. You know what I mean? Just because it's a bad trip, as people say, it may be exactly what you need. And in turn, that's a good journey.
So a bad trip isn't really a bad trip, is what you're saying.
I mean,
it is on the surface.
Well, it all depends too on, like, you know, if me and you take a handful of mushrooms and then go to Broadway, that's a bad trip because it was a bad idea to begin with.
Right.
Like, we didn't prepare properly. We didn't respect it. I mean, I would never, you couldn't pay me $10,000 to walk down Broadway after eating a quarter of mushrooms. I wouldn't do it. Not only because of the experience, but also respect for the medicine. You know what I mean? Like, it's that serious, man. Like,
when you take it though, like, do you you're fully aware of like what you're doing?
yeah.
And
yeah.
like you're not gonna just, you know, let's say me and Eric pop some later tonight, and you know, we're not gonna just end up accidentally wandering down Broadway like a bunch of idiots, right? Like we're aware. Like,
I mean, that's hard to say. Like, okay, so when I do a journey, I put the phones. I never do more than just, and I've grown to this point, but I've learned I don't like to do more than myself and another person, right? I don't do threes because 3 can get awkward.
Eric, you're out, bro.
Well, here's what'll happen though. Like, say for instance, if 2 people came and they wanted to do it, I would kind of lead the ceremony or sit with them and just make sure they're good.
Sure.
You get what I'm saying? And
Yep.
kind of meditate
Yep.
during what they're doing.
Yep.
But I think it's important to...
You can guide. You can guide them.
Exactly. And a lot of guiding is just being present and quiet. You know what I mean? It's important to... Like, I wouldn't speak until the other person speaks. You know, leave them alone completely. Because they're going through things that you can't imagine right now unless you're on that frequency. You know?
That's interesting.
Yeah, but it's the set, and that's a big thing that a lot of people talk about is set and setting. You'll hear that over and over and over again, talking about psilocybin. But it's true, man. It's where you're at, you know, your mindset, you know. So yeah, I think a bad trip would come out of misusing these substances and not thinking about the approach, you know. But under the right circumstances, if you have a hard journey, it's probably because you need to fix something about yourself, or, you know, something scaring you in life, or, you know, there's a number of things it could be. But I believe you'll always learn a lesson.
So you're a big mindset guy.
Yeah, big mindset.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Intention, man. I mean, that's life. Like, I feel like our whole, you know, life is shaped around our intention day to day. You know what I mean? And it's important to know what it is, just like setting goals in business. I mean, what they say, it's like not having a goal is like, you know, not having a roadmap or not knowing where you're driving. You know what I mean?
It's back to being stagnant.
Back to being stagnant. Yeah.
What about your goals?
Man, my goals, I feel like I've attained my goals to a certain extent. Now my goals moving forward would be just traveling the world and, you know, growing to a point where I can further facilitate in making the world a better place while I'm passing through. You know what I mean?
Do you think that was your purpose?
I feel like that's all of our purpose at the core. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we stay busy and we have all these things that we've got to do every day. But if you zoom out to outer space, do you see any of that? You know what I mean? You don't see any of that. It's all completely irrelevant. So I think the most important thing is trying to figure out how to spread good energy and make the world a better place.
I feel the energy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the energy the first time we spoke.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious. Like, you know, I mean, that first time we talked on the phone and we were talking about a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your photography, podcasting. That's how all this came about, right? But you know, I don't know. I just feel like we had a good connection. And
man, likewise, and I felt the same way, man. And that's why I'm glad we connected on that level.
Yeah. And I know you're working on a lot of other cool projects right now. Tell me about your book project.
That's right. We started to talk about that. So the bathroom, the long narrow bathroom I was referring to earlier, it was really cool because me and my fiance would put air mattresses in there, and I would just lay them on the floor and like blow them up to where they kind of formed around everything. So it's almost like, because it's pretty narrow. So with the queen size air mattress, I mean, it fills up the whole space, but it actually goes around like the toilet and the door, you know, and it's like, you just got this. Anyway, I would have one, she would have one behind me, and I would go into my journey, like, you know, laying on the air mattress, she's behind me, and it's almost like, so she's always present, but when I don't need someone present on purpose, it's like I'm here by myself, right? But trying to remember the question we just had.
The book project.
The book. So the book started after a while, like, she started having fun trying to figure out, like, different things to ask me when I was in the space where you could talk to me. And man, we started coming up with some really cool stuff. And like I said, first couple hours, you don't really want to talk. But then after the purge, you know, there's things that come up and ideas and thoughts. And she started recording me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I would take the recordings the next day and do like an integration, stream of consciousness writing, and then find things like to elaborate on maybe scientifically, right? Like what can we go look at what we said here and explain this, right? And then what we're working on now, it eventually turned into, man, I think we might have a book here. So one day we were on this hill at an Airbnb, laying on an air mattress, watching the sunrise, obviously on mushrooms. And she doesn't, but she kind of just sits for me. And I looked at her and I said, hello from another lifetime. And that was the name of the book from that moment on. And I felt like it didn't feel like it was me that was saying it. You know what I mean? It felt like it was something else. Best analogy I could come up with is like an alien life form using a walkie-talkie. You know what I mean? And that's how we came up with the name. But so now we're taking the chapters, what we've written about to this point, taking those back into a journey, and she asked me prompts from the writings we've done thus far, right? And then that's what we call the psychedelic archaeology. So we'll take these ideas and then see what we can dig up past that. You know, and the book is called Hello from Another Lifetime, Psychedelic Archaeology.
This is deep.
Yeah, man. It's why it's like the couple times I spoke about it, it's really hard to articulate what exactly it's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hard to put into words.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely like it's very, very, very deep. It's not like a how-to book or anything like that. It's, you know, the authors would be myself, my fiance, and the mushroom. Literally, you know what I mean? Because these ideas, sometimes I'll get on a level where I'm like, I can't even write this down. These aren't my ideas. You know what I mean?
Right.
This isn't mine.
Yeah.
But then, you know, we get past that. But
Yeah. So but you still note some?
I mean, she handles all that. Like I get too far out to where I wouldn't be able to write anything down.
Okay.
She records it, she takes notes, and then she'll give me like, okay, this is what I think we should elaborate on. You know what I mean? And then the next day, when I still am in the zone a little bit, I mean, you're not in any way like still tripping or anything like that. But you remember more. It's kind of like a dream, like when you first wake up. You know what I mean? That's when I like to elaborate on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, your fiance, talk about supportive.
Man. Yeah.
I love that. I love to hear that.
Yeah, she knows how to. She's really good at that. She knows how to. Like it takes a certain kind of person to know how to deal with someone under those circumstances, because you can easily freak someone out.
Yeah.
Just by saying, a couple words at the wrong time. You know what I mean? No, she's incredible. She's done a really good job, and us working together is why we're able to do this book.
Yeah.
It's a labor of love, so it's taken us a little while, but it's more important to me, just like we were talking earlier, quality and the fact, writing something that when people read it, they take away something. You know what I mean? Like they genuinely either learn something or they're entertained. There's something that they take away, and it's not just wrote it to hurry up and get it out.
Yeah, not something just to pass the time.
No.
Yeah.
Got to be valuable.
Doing it with purpose.
Right.
Exactly. And I really believe in that.
Me too.
It's like, I have this, I know I probably shared it with you once before, but I have this little slogan that I kind of added onto my show earlier this year, real talk on purpose. Mm-hmm. And I know I already shared it with you, but it's got that dual meaning, right? Mm-hmm. We're having a real conversation, right? That's why it's real talk. Mm-hmm. And we're doing it on purpose.
Right.
But then it's also, real talk on your purpose and finding your purpose.
That's dope.
And really like living out your purpose, right? But I think it's so cool. I love to hear the supportive spouse. I love that. Shout out to my wife Jess back home. We have a little boy Braden, and also just found out my wife is pregnant, and we're expecting a little baby
man.
girl in February.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, you know, if it wasn't for her, like I wouldn't be sitting here.
Right.
You know, if it wasn't for her support.
Right.
You know? I love hearing that
Right.
from the other side too.
And she's
know?
my fiance Ashley's a writer anyway. That's what she does for a living. So it's, you know, it's kind of how it turned into that, being that she is a writer, and, you know, we were taking these notes and doing these recordings and stuff, and then it was like, well, wait a minute, we should, and I started doing like, and I don't even know what to call it, like, not poems, but things that come from this mushroom journey, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
like a
then
journal, like in a
kinda
journal
like
in a
journal.
sense.
Yeah.
But just writings.
Right. Yep.
So she has this writing background.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. How'd you
Yeah.
guys meet?
Oh man, we've been together like 12 years. It was a long time ago. We just met through mutual friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the area here?
Yeah.
Yeah?
She's from here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is we love the town, by the way. You know, this is I was
Yeah.
telling you earlier, Eric and I are here, you know, and first time here in Nashville.
You
Not
guys
that I
got
didn't
to
think
get out on Broadway.
we did, yeah, just a little bit.
It's crazy, right?
It's nuts, man.
Yeah.
It's out of control. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rapidly growing town.
Yeah, there's a lot of expansion going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's you know, I knew it was small. It was big. It's big but small, right?
Right.
And I don't think I realized like how close and connected everything was, and how connected a lot of people really are around here.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, it's I mean, I think at one point they said there was 4,000 people a month moving here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's the country music capital of the world, and I mean, it's very quickly becoming, I mean, just, you know, it's Music City. It's no longer just country music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of hip hop and rock and roll and stuff here.
Yeah, you know, I think I personally had that misconception about Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know, I don't even know up until at what point. Maybe probably not that long ago.
Right.
I only looked at it as like country, right? But there's a lot of other great stuff going on here,
Oh man, I love our city.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
and you manage a couple other artists as well,
Right.
you know, and they're not country,
Right.
right? So,
I have one artist who's a incredible country singer, like outlaw country. His name Tony Martinez. Yeah, he's really cool. But all the other artists I work with are hip hop.
yeah, I love. I'm a hip hop guy myself.
Yeah.
You know, gotta be honest, I'm not like a huge country guy, which is maybe why
Not
like
at all.
yeah, which is like maybe why I guess I never really had an inclination to come to Nashville
Right.
until we connected.
Right.
Seriously, honestly, I don't think I
Yeah.
ever would have came to Nashville.
That's crazy. It's it's the bachelorette party capital of the world.
Yeah, I think that's basically all we saw so far.
Right. Isn't that crazy?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it blew my mind.
Just you know, they're all those riding those trolleys, right?
Pedal
Like,
taverns.
yeah, is that what they're called?
Yeah, and the tractor rides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It gets wild down there.
Oh man, I'm telling you.
But you avoid it though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I go down there sometimes, but I prefer the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just being out in nature and
Yeah.
What-
well,
what-
I mean, my work is pretty much like clock in and it's like a party, and then clock out and go to the country.
you're right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So
So I
you're
enjoy it.
you're around the party all day.
yeah,
Pretty
and
much.
and I enjoy it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But I don't want to party after the party, so I just
Yeah.
call it.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know what I think is kind of interesting, you know, normally I feel like you're probably, you know, it's funny when we were setting up, and, you know, thanks for helping us out a little bit here too with, you know, with everything. But, you know, I said to you, like, you know, normally you're probably, you know, the one, you know, doing all the work over here and not sitting in these chairs kind of thing, right?
On the
So
other
like,
side, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
yeah,
for
how's
sure.
it feel to be not the behind the scenes guy?
Man, it's nice.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, chill. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So, what's next? What's next for you?
Man, we got so much going on right now. We're headed out for another run. Wolf has a headline run. We got a couple more dates with Jelly Roll. We're doing that. September 20th, we leave. We're gone for about 3 weeks. I mean, we've got Mudmouth movie is coming out looking like 2024. Have you heard of anything about that?
No,
Have I told you
but I
anything
want to hear about it. I mean, because I know Mudmouth's the name of the one album, which is like I love
Yeah.
that album, by the way. But
So we shot a movie in Mexico City in 2020, and we had it was a little bit over $1 million budget for the movie in Mexico City, which, you know, it went far. You know, we had some great DPs down there. A really good friend of mine, Gorilla Mike, his company, Gorilla Hollywood, produced and directed. He's the director, him and a guy named Abarca, another great director. They directed the movie, and the only reason why the movie isn't out yet is because there's a couple songs that were animated. And the original animation, the whole movie is based on an LSD trip, right? Surprise.
yeah,
You know?
right, yeah,
So anyway, Mudmouth, Wolf branded as like LSD, kind of like Orange Sunshine. So the LSD was called Mudmouth. And the animation was supposed to be, you know, like, think about like, you know, Pink Floyd The Wall or something, like something that was leaning towards psychedelics. When we got it back, it was more like Japanimation or something. Like, it was really well done. It was really incredible. It just wasn't the right vibe. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So we had to go back to the drawing board, and we found this incredible artist, and he took on the project, but it was going to take 16 months. So,
Oh, wow.
You know, we originally were going to release in 2021. We had to pivot and go back to the drawing board on that. But it's all the cinema side is completely done. You know, everything on the real life side is done. The only thing we're waiting on is the animation.
Wow.
But yeah, we're excited to roll it out, you know, get it in some film festivals, stuff like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I mean, it was incredible, man. It's like, you've heard the album Mudmouth. So the movie starts with Light as a Feather.
There we
Right.
go.
And
Yeah.
ends with the song Mudmouth. It's literally the sequence of the album. So it's like, you know, I guess you could say it's got, you know, pieces that are like a musical, pieces that are like a movie. Sometimes the music might just be playing on the radio in the background. It's not all musical. It's really original, man. I don't think the way that it was done, the way that, you know, we filmed this movie, I don't think it's ever really been done like that before. I think it's something new, you know?
This is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited. The whole Mudmouth album now has like a whole new meaning to me, I feel like.
Yeah, it'll be like another release. We'll release another vinyl and might introduce the blotter art again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you were
'Cause
showing
we
me
did
that a little bit before we rolled up in here.
Yeah, the Yelawolf Mudmouth blotter art, we only sold in the vinyls. So the only way someone got one of those was if they bought the record. You know what I mean? But and they were actually in the movie. Like those sheets were used in the movie.
That's dope.
So it was really dope.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. So we got that going on, and man, it never stops, man. And I'm very thankful, you know.
Yeah.
Thankful to have the momentum that we've got.
Yeah, and you got the cigar brand?
Cigars, yep.
Yeah.
Appreciate your services.
Yeah. Give me a little, tell me a little bit about it.
So the name of the cigar is Murder by Edward Crowe, and murder is just a play on words. You know, obviously your mind goes right, so wait a minute, why would you call it murder?
Right.
But, you know, they call a group of crows, my name Edward Crowe, a group of crows is a murder of crows. You know, so it's like a pack of cigars is a murder, you know what I mean? So that's where the name came from. And my partner, Yelawolf, I mean, he just like, I got some samples about a year ago, and me and him were smoking them, and I kind of gave him a rundown. And man, it just hit him like that. I mean, we went back to his place, and he designed it in front of me. And I mean, it was
That
all
quick.
him. Like, he just, I mean, you know, he worked on it for a couple of hours,
Yeah.
but I mean, he like, it like hit
He had
him
a vision.
like that. Yeah, he had a vision. Yeah. And it all started when someone pitched a cigar idea to me for Yelawolf, and I took it to him, and he said, man, I don't smoke cigars, you do. He said, let's just do a cigar for you. I was like, okay, cool. So that's how it all started.
Yeah.
And then, you know, quality is big, so I came to you, you know, to make sure that the quality was right. You know, like we said, I wanted to sit in the humidor, and, you know, if you didn't know anything about cigars, you wouldn't think any less of this, you know. I want the quality to be top notch.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited.
I love it. Love the brand.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
We're
cool to get a
excited.
little more insight
Right.
on it.
Absolutely.
What's the plan? When's the plan to launch?
I would like to launch by February. Maybe sooner. Just depending on the legalities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like me and you discussed.
Yeah.
Making sure we do it the right way.
It's exciting though.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Dude, you got a lot of irons in the fire, man.
Yeah, one more thing we're almost wrapped up with, and I'm really excited about is the I told you I shot photography on the 5150 tour, and my good friend and legendary photographer director Estevan Oriol is putting it out under his brand, Joker Brand Publishing, which is huge honor, so I'm thankful, looking forward to that too.
That's incredible.
Right.
So cool.
Yeah, I'm really psyched on that, man.
So how does somebody get a copy of that? How does that work?
That'll be for sale on Slamerican.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll probably have it on my website too, but definitely Slamerican.com.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. We've been working on it on and off, obviously, since the tour, since we got back, just when we have time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of cool to get I've obviously, we kind of knew each other for the last couple of years, but not, right? And, just kind of following the journey, of you and Wolf, and just seeing all this, all you get, all this now, like all these things coming together, and like the fact that you've been, like you said, been working on that for like 5 years, like,
yeah,
it's a journey.
Oh man, it definitely is. And I think it's just like any of this stuff, man, what's most important is the quality, something that's going to live forever. You know what I mean? Sometimes the deadlines, it's like, oh man, we're not going to meet this deadline, but I would rather put out something incredible than meet a deadline. You know what I mean? And obviously that can't always work. Sometimes you got to meet the deadline.
Sure.
But, that's obviously I'm big on quality.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah, exactly.
Any day.
Any day.
Take it any day.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, how can our listeners connect to you online?
Man, Edward.Crowe on Instagram. That's really all I use is Instagram. I'm not big on any other platforms. And then edwardcrowe.com is my website.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Gotta keep an eye out for all the things you're working on.
Man, for sure.
Dude, I'm so grateful that like this happened.
Man, I'm thankful you guys came, bro. Thank you for coming to Nashville, and this is awesome.
Yeah, man.
Really great conversation.
Really enjoyed this. Enjoyed the conversation. I know there's gonna be plenty more.
Right.
Absolutely. And look forward to working with you on who knows what.
Right. Let's get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And shout out to the 8th Room again, by the way.
Yeah, man.
Hollis really hooked us up, man.
He sure did. No,
This is an incredible place.
It is. Yeah. Again, if you guys are ever in Nashville, come to the 8th Room.
Yeah, I hope
Really
we shoot.
dope spot.
Yeah, we shoot in 4K. Hopefully I saw, again, pictures coming in before, but I feel like it didn't do it justice until we got here.
Yeah.
Man, you walk in and it's like every inch of this place, there was so much thought
Yeah.
that went into this. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
he completely transformed this place, man. It was, like you said, every single small, minute detail. You know what I mean? Hollis is responsible for making
Literally down to the bathroom,
Yeah.
like everything.
Yeah.
I love this place. This is like a, I don't want to leave,
Yeah.
but I think Hollis might want his place back,
Right.
so he can open up. But, shout out to him for helping us and,
Hell yeah.
making this happen. This was an experience, man.
Hell yeah.
And like I said, I'm grateful for it and looking forward to see what else you're doing.
Man, I'm stoked, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Edward Crowe on the Stacks. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
If you want to see more On the Stacks content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/onthestackspodcast or search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.